This morning we start cleaning up the square frames, and we thought we would fix some of the problems that we had ignored up until this point in time. So the first thing we're going to do is put the sills in and do whatever cleanup that we need to do before we go outside to do the final sanding. As we started to line up the gun ports to put the stills in, we discovered that the sweep port wasn't lining up properly. So we took off the last two frames, 6 fore and 6 aft, relined them so we get that 8-inch hole. So going through the same process, we've got that all sorted out, and I think it came out fine in the end. And we've done the same thing on the other side, just waiting to put the final sanding in. In the first part of the framing exercise, we were struggling to get the gun ports in, and so you'll recall that we left them out, and then as the skill level came through, we were able to put these in. So we're now going to go back and put this gun port in, the second one from the stern. One of the nice things about this is rediscovering some of the tools that I bought over the years. I hadn't used this, I didn't even remember having it actually. And it's a beautiful little jigsaw from Micromart, and it has a little button on it, which allows you to press, unlike a lot of the other jigsaws that I have, which has an on and off switch. You turn it on and it stays on, then you have to turn it off. This one, just a little press button, and then because I can control the speed of it on the transformer, I can make very gentle cuts. It has almost no vibration, so it's really very good to put it on a model because it doesn't rough it up at all. So another little gem from the past, highly recommended. Getting the port sills to line up is always a bit of a pain. So in the book they suggested that you make up a little template and you put the template against the lines, as we're doing here. This template is 5 inches, and although you probably can't see it, it has to come down tiny bit on each side. So this really helps you line the piece up and allows you to sand the center frames so everything is parallel and level. I've also put a very shallow angle on this piece, much shallower than when I was first doing these pieces, following Greg's advice for cutting the mortise that this will fit into. So this is about inch and a half deep. So we just take that down a bit. And to make sure that the line we cut is parallel, we've marked both sides, and I take a mark on this side and a similar one here, and I'll draw the line on the top and the bottom. And that allows me to, it makes me sure that the mortises I cut are accurate. And then I'll do the same on the other side. The next thing I do is I put the center line in, and then I use a very sharp blade to mark the center line. And then I'll start using the same knife to cut the mortise. And then I go straight to the file, which I'm using a diamond file, and very gently and using the template sill, it actually tells me I need to take down the bottom half of that little more. So we keep trying to fit it, taking off a little bit at a time and going back and forward on the grinder, and eventually we'll get it to fit. Perfect fit. Well, not perfect, but good enough. It's not pushing the frames out, and you'll also notice that when I fit the frames, they're much bigger than the actual sill, and that's just, remember, it's not a straight up and down, and so you need a bigger piece to make sure there are no issues when you start sanding it down. And so with a little bit of patience, we've got that all sorted out. We've just gone through each of the sills and really verified that they're all the same height. And just to make sure they're level, following the advice, we made up this little stick which is flat on both sides with very fine sandpaper, and we're just going to move it back and forward to make sure that the sills are perfectly level. Now, Greg had actually suggested that this be done before the sills were put on the frames. I'll try and do that for the next set of gun ports that we install. We're not going to spend a long time on the sanding because this is relatively straightforward. Perhaps the only challenge is that as we start to sand, the spacer pieces at the top tend to come apart, and I've really been using CA to hold it together, because it seems to come apart quite regularly as you rough up the model a little bit. We still have a bit to go, but we'll bring this to an end. As you can see, the fairing lines are getting much better, and the boards are all starting to really become one. So that's going to be it for this video, and we'll move back to the bow of the boat.